guy running with Latin. The guy run, my friend, but they're gonna catch him. You see that, my friend? They're gonna go get him. They're gonna go get him, my friend. Look.
What's up, fam? It's your boy Demuir here, purveyor of all sounds underground. Thank you for joining me on this YouTube Thursday. For those existing purveyors and new ones to this channel, I'm very happy to be here and to share some new techniques with respects to turning Logic into an MPC. But before doing so, I need that SLC from you, which is to hit subscribe, like, comment, and don't forget the notifications bell. And before I go away, I want to send a special shout out to everyone who has been subscribing and told others to subscribe. As of today, we hit 1,000 subscribers in a little of over 3 months, which is phenomenal. And thank you, Wasteman Wano, for doing your thing. Wasteman Wano is our videographer. But without further ado, let's jump into things. Peace. So let's jump into it. We have my screen up with respects to turning Logic into an MPC sort of machine. Now, before you jump in, and when I say you, I'm talking about the 1%ers that jump in with, you can't make it a MPC, it's still Logic at the end of the day. Yeah, motherfucker, I know that. But it's all about how do you take a sample, split it up, and be able to chop it up on your MIDI controller and swing with things nicely. That's what this is all about. And you can only really get that through an MPC, but many of you who are in Logic probably don't know that you can replicate that functionality. And here's how you do it. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do this. So first and foremost here, I got my sample. Let me solo that out. Jump in here. It might sound a little familiar to you because I use this on my heist recordings, The Trinity Returneth. And I obviously didn't use the full sample. I used different portions of it, but I was triggering them through MIDI, and I'll show you exactly what I did a little bit later. So let's say now I got my sample here. What I usually do when I want multiple chops to mess with, I go over to the scissor tool, and then I hold down Option, and I line myself up against the grid here. So let's zoom in. So I'm lined up nicely here. I'm going to do, basically every, I want like meaty chops, like quarter chops. I tend to chop it a bit finer, but I'm basically going to do it every bar from what you can see here. So you can do it here actually. So lined up, chop, and you see I get nice individual cuts. Let me zoom out. And then what I'm going to do is switch back to the pointer, and I'm going to highlight all of these, right click, and I'm going to go over to this thing called Convert to New Sampler Track. Click that, and we're into the actual instrument asking us how do we want to handle the samples in terms of the sampler. Do we want to recognize it by the transient markers in terms of each zones or regions? And what I like to do is do it by regions. So from C1 to G8 notes, it's going to split all of these up into the different pads. So now here we have our new sampler track. Usually it pops this up in Logic with a MIDI sort of window or piano roll here. I'm just going to delete that because it's not necessarily what I want to do. I want to sort of do my own thing with respects to this. I'm just soloing some stuff out here. Mute that, solo this, and let's see what it's done. So I'm using my machine pad as a MIDI controller. When you hit Shift Control, it basically toggles you between the machine pad becoming a MIDI controller versus the VST in terms of what I have it set up as. So you can hear my different drum sounds in there, but now when I move over as a MIDI controller, so you can hear the different pads. And again, I've now just taken all of the original chops I did up here, and now I have it as a individual sampler instrument down here. So, and then I just play around with it. Let's get some beats going here. That's basically the gist of that. So taking chopped up samples, moving them into Logic's EX24 sampler, which is this beast here, and you got your different samples chopped up by region, I should say, and you could trigger it off of the machine pad. Similarly, and this is what I actually did when I made the song, is if we go over to Serato Sample here, I was part of the original beta group that designed this and helped give feedback, and it's a great product. And it's actually a bit more powerful than the other technique I just showed you. And the reason why is because it actually stretches the samples between chops. So what you do with Serato Sample is you load in the sample. So that was the string sample I showed you earlier. And then you can ask it to find different samples, or you can set the different chops through setting the slicer mode here. So I'll just solo this out and play. It's basically the chord progression that I use for Trinity Returneth. And interestingly, it's also 3 bars. I just, I was just fooling around with different parts of the chop. I could have easily ended up doing something like this, I think. Play the beat. And there you have it. I showed you 2 different techniques to basically turn Logic into an MPC-like machine, or taking your samples in Logic and then treating them in an MPC kind of way. So let me know your thoughts about this, if this technique will work for you, and if you've tried it, if you got any questions, just please add them to the comments and engage in the conversation, and I'll try my best to respond to each within 24 hours of posting this video. Be interested in your thoughts, and don't forget to hit the notifications bell, and if you haven't done so already, do subscribe. Massive thanks to all my purveyors out there. Beautiful love and respect. Peace.